Get the latest news on your smart speaker whenever you want. Just say, play BBC News for Scotland.
You're listening to Good Morning Scotland, 24 minutes to 9 the time. Cutting energy bills and becoming less reliant on fuel imports is the aim of plans set out by the UK government. Investment in renewables and nuclear are part of the proposals, which officials have dubbed Energy Security Day. It's been revealed a carbon capture project in Aberdeenshire has been identified as helping play a role in the ambitious targets to get to net zero by 2050. We did ask to speak to the Energy Security Secretary, Grant Shapps, about this, but we were told he was unavailable this morning. Let's speak to the SNP's Westminster spokesperson for the Environment, Alan Brown MP. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Gary.
One of the main ambitions here is for ultimately us all to have cheaper fuel bills. That has to be welcomed, doesn't it?
It's to be welcomed as a phrase and as an intention, but the policies, frankly, aren't going to be there to put that in place, Gary. I think they're going to talk about, we're talking about renewable energy. In the allocation budgets just announced, they've actually cut the budget for renewable energy by a third, and they're cutting that by a third at a time when construction inflation and material inflation is actually putting the cost of projects up. So they're actually going to deliver less renewable energy than otherwise would have. So they're actually not going about things the right way.
Well, in their ambition to make UK energy the cheapest in Europe by 2035, which we're told is what ministers are aiming for, they plan to decouple the wholesale gas price from the electricity market. This should bring down electricity bills. It's something campaigners have been calling for a long time. Is that the measure you can support?
Yeah, we've called for that, so we've actually called for it to happen quicker, so that would be a good thing. But actually, as we bring more renewable energy on stream under the Contracts for Difference, that kind of takes care of that partly anyway. But if you look at the energy system as a whole, so last year, National Grid ESO paid £4 billion in constraint payments. That's the payments to actually turn turbines off. So that's £4 billion of money completely wasted that could otherwise or should have been invested in grid upgrades, invested in projects like pump storage hydro. There's just other ways of going about this that could have a better, more renewable energy balanced system, and the government's not doing that. And then you look at their ambitions in nuclear. Well, nuclear can't be delivered in any short time frame. Sizewell C is going to cost something like £35 billion.
But their ambition is not for more nuclear power stations on the scale of Sizewell B. They're talking about quite small scale local projects. What is wrong with that idea as a green way of delivering more energy?
Well, it's not green for a start. If you look at the existing nuclear waste legacy, it's estimated it's going to cost £235 billion to clean that up. Then you look at the cost of small modular reactors, which aren't actually that small, but they're roughly £2 billion a station, and the government wants to build 12 to 15. So you do the maths, and some year at 20 to 30 billion pounds in so-called small modular reactors.
But they do provide energy security, don't they? Perhaps in a way that renewables don't. In as much as, you know, when the wind doesn't blow, the turbines don't turn.
Yeah, it's a bit of myth, but that's also why we need to go to storage, Gary. The problem with nuclear is it's very inflexible, so it doesn't actually complement intermittent renewable energy well at all, because nuclear is effectively either on or off. And nuclear actually adds to the problems we've got just now about the constraint payments and the grid not having the capacity. So that's why, as I say, you actually need proper storage. That could be pump storage hydro. It can be battery storage, which is developing. Of course, it could be...
Well, you say
hydrogen.
Developing, but of course some of these things are in the very early stages. The technology isn't there at the moment, whereas, of course, nuclear is proven.
Well, again, if you go back to small modular reactors, there isn't actually an approved regulatory design in the UK, so it's not proven. There isn't in terms of the EPR, nuclear power stations that they're building at Hinkley are still not a successful project in the world, and yet they're wanting to spend another £35 billion at Sizewell C. So really the economics don't stack up. And so that's why it needs to be much more focus on renewable energy. And you look at tidal stream, Scotland's a world leader in tidal stream. Tidal streams have been predicted to be able to deliver 11 gigawatts of stable, predicted energy that would be a much better alternative to nuclear. But what's happening with tidal stream, where we're leading the world in all supply chain developments in the UK government's actually cut the budget for tidal stream in half to just £10 million. That's insufficient, and it could lead to what's happened with onshore and offshore wind, where the main manufacturing actually happens abroad, and we don't get the same benefit in terms of supply chain jobs. And I've actually got a meeting with Treasury later on this morning to discuss this and the potential impact on tidal stream development in Scotland.
And just to ask you about the Acorn project in St Fergus near Peterhead, that project, of course, has been talked about in the past. Funding was taken away. It does seem as though this has been talked up again in this particular review. Do you anticipate that the funding will be in place now?
Well, you've hit the key point. Is there going to be funding in place? And it seems to be the trails they're giving is the Acorn's going to be well placed to be one of the Track 2 projects. We've just been well placed. It's continuing to dangle a carrot. What we need to see is a firm commitment on timescales and a firm commitment on funding. And I'm a bit concerned that these certainties aren't going to be given today. And if they're not, that's another kick in the teeth, and it's a big letdown for what is actually the best placed project for delivery.
OK, well, thanks very much for speaking to us this morning. That's Alan Brown, who is the SNP's Westminster spokesperson on the environment.
Time now, 18 minutes to 9.